One of the most important things of every new set is the early game, because if you have a good early game, you can play any board that you want. So in today's video, we're gonna cover best opener, item slams, what items feed these openers, and transition into late game boards. The first camp we're gonna talk about is a rapid fire. You wanna slam items that gives you attack speed. So for example, Rage Blade, the red buff, Last Whisper, Kraken, Giant Slayer, stuff like that. You play around Xayah, Varus, and then you wanna add units in the front line that can complete this trait. So for example, in this case, we complete Elderwood, right? So we add one and Alistar, and after that we add Shen. With this we get like Inferno with Varus, and of course we add another brawler so you can buff the team also. You can play Xayah with other opener as well, maybe with Rakan so you can get Faye, with another like Juggernaut and stuff like that. But I would say this is very good. From this opener you can transfer and play into Aphelios Vanguards, because Aphelios can use the same items that Xayah uses, and any frontline items can be put on Sentinel, which is very good. If you are win streaking or you have like economy and you can go level 9 in a healthy way, you can even cap higher by playing Draven. Draven loves the same items Xayah loves. You make Rage Blade, Kraken, Last Whisper, Deathblade, GS, the items that we said, and you transfer into this Draven board where you can put a lot of legendaries. You can play around Gnar, Amumu, Maokai and stuff like that. But it's very important to know exactly for what you have money and HP to play. So I would say play Aphelios when you have like a mid game, play Draven if you hire. If you have a Camille opener and you have like items for Bruiser like Age of Night, QSS, Sterak and stuff like that, is very good as well. Camille is a very strong unit. You play Camille, another Ravager like Akali, and then you want to play any other units that you have. You can play 2 Brawlers, 2 Defenders, 2 Vanguards. For example, in this case, you can play these 4 units and then you add a Xayah and a Varus, and this way you get Rapid Fire that gives attack speed to your entire team, and you also get Inferno that gives you anti-heal early game. And of course, on the level you can complete with like Alistar and other units. From this spot, you can transfer these items into the same Aphelios Vanguard. I know, because you're like, oh, but Aphelios uses attack speed. Yes, but Brambleback uses the same items that Camille does. So you can transfer those items into Brambleback and play into Aphelios. If you're healthy or if you win streak, you can play Dragon 9-5, which is a very expensive board. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this dragon is a bit stupid. But if you hit everything 2-star and you're like strong enough in time, this board can win the game. Also, new invention that appeared a few days ago, Nidalee Severe, which I think it's way better than Aphelios. On Nidalee you make IE, Hajj and Sterak, and on Severe you make any leftover AD items. You need some tank items for Malphite, so be sure that you prioritize Nidalee items and Malphite items. And this board is actually very strong. You don't win games though, neither with Nidalee or with Aphelios. So you just get top 4 and you get out. The AP3 revolves around Karma, LeBlanc, or pretty much Spellweavers. With this board that you see here, Yorick, Rakan, Hecarim, Karma, LeBlanc, you have a solid board. But the trick and the magic of this board is that it's very hard to low roll. Because if you look here, you have Yorick, Rakan that gives you Juggernauts, you have Rakan, Hecarim that gives you Vanguards, and then you have 2 empty slots. So for example, if you get another Elderwood, you can play it here and you have 3 Elderwoods. If you have another Blossom, you can play it here and you have 3 Blossoms and you can abuse the Wisp. Or at level 7, you can play both. So the magic of this board is that you can play a lot of units on like level 6-7, so you can like save some HP in stage 3 that is very good for you. Usually from this board you go into Ahri Flex, which is a very interesting board and I'm gonna make a video for that, but I'm gonna give you the source here just so you have an idea. So the main idea is that you play around Ahri, Severe, Zyra, Karma, Vi and Yorick. 6 units, alright? Then at level 8 you roll down, and depends on what you hit you stop. So for example, if you hit a Mumu 2, you play Rakan and you have 4 Juggernauts. If you hit a set 2, you need another brawler, so for example Gnar would be the best, but if you have Crack that's fine also, so you stop there. Or if you low roll, you can play around a Malphite 2 and Azir, and with Azir you have like 3 summoners with Azir, Zyra and Yorick. It's very important to know when to stop. And of course from this board you go in the cap into the Ahri Ashe 9-5, which is probably the strongest board of the patch, so far at least. So you play around these units, board goes deleted and you just win the game. But it's very important on how you go from this into the other AP3s as well. So I made some rules for it. So for example, if you have a mana item and AP crit, you can go into Ahri. If you have 2 mana items, you can go into Soraka. If you have a Rage Blade and AP crit, you can go into Nidalee. These are some basic rules. It doesn't mean you need to follow them 100%, but it's a good starting point. So let's take for example the double mana items. You can go into this board with Soraka. Soraka loves double mana because she gets more mana from Flora Fatalis. If you kill unit, she bursts down units because of her skill. Double mana is very nice. Best in slot is like Nashor and Adaptive, but if you have like Sojourn Nashor or like Blue Buff, it's still fine as well. You want to play like tank items on Malphite, and leftover it's on Xayah. Usually have like Morello or Void or stuff like that. And you cap this board by going and you play around Cannon. You get more Executioner, more damage, good. What you have Rageblade JJ. Then you go into Nidalee Morgana. You put these items on Nidalee, and I'm gonna be honest with you, these are not like, oh, I need this item so I cannot play Nidalee. You need the Rageblade, which is like very important to her, but the rest can be any AP item. So Deadcap, Archangel is fine, Giant's Raid it's alright, even Red Buff is fine. But usually you make here like full AP, and then on Morgana you just put leftover items. So I would focus on Nidalee items, and then you put the rest on Morgana. And frontline items just go on the Sentinel, and you can play around 4 Vanguards as well, but I would say this version is a bit more stable, allows you to go level 9 easier, so it's way better. Now there are some openers that I personally don't like, but you can try to get them, especially if you hire all these units early. So for example, you have the big T, Teemo. You have Sojin, Voice Staff, Deadcap, Morello, any AP items you pretty much want him to cast as much as possible, because he can actually give you some useful stuff. He gives you some XP, gives you some HP, some rolls, they're pretty good. The only problem is that you need a Teemo 2, and you need the Ramos, because without it, it's kinda weird. You need those 3 Sprikins. And from this board you can go into Morgana Coven, that we talk about in another video, but it's pretty much Morgana, 4 Vanguards, you can play around Brambleback, you can play the version with Nidalee that I showed you before, so you can play in any of these. It's just, this opener is very expensive. Doable, so you shouldn't avoid. And then you have Pebbles, or Lil Blue, how I like to call him. You play around Pebbles, Teemo, Kobuko, Krog, Rakan, and Scuttlecrab. The good part with that is that at level, like when you level to like 6, 7, it's very hard to low roll, because you can play Tristana and you get 3 Sprikin, you can play Elise and you get another Vanguard. The same idea is that without Krog, it's kinda bad, because 3 Reef Beasts are very important for you, but you don't want to play Pebbles, Scuttle, and Litaret. Like, I don't care about that. I don't want to play the Merkwolf either, so you need the defensive Rift Beast, which is Krog. It's kinda expensive, but if you have it, it's pretty good as well. As some general ideas, so it's easier for you to follow. If you have AD or attack speed items, go on Xayah. If you have AP items, go with Karma, Teemo, or Pebbles. And if you have bruiser items, play around Camille or Akali. Playing these openers are gonna save you a lot of HP and you're gonna make a lot of gold with them, but it's very important to transfer this power from like the early game into late game. So if you do not know what are the best camps right now, I recommend you to check this video, and I'll see you in the next one.